Direct News TV. December 3, 2023. Israel-Gaza war live, Israel bombards Gaza as talks break down. Hamas says captive prisoner swap talks will not resume until Israeli onslaught in Gaza ends. Israel pulled back its negotiators from Qatar on Saturday, saying Hamas violated terms of truce agreement. Israeli official confirms plans for post-war buffer zone in Gaza, newspaper says. An Israeli official has confirmed plans to carve out a buffer zone on the Palestinian side of Gaza's border to prevent future attacks after the war, the Times of Israel has reported. The defense establishment is talking about some kind of security buffer on the Gaza side of the border so that Hamas cannot gather military capabilities close to the border and surprise Israel again, an unnamed Israeli official was quoted as saying by the newspaper. The official clarified, however, that the plan does not envision Israeli troops being stationed on the Palestinian side of the border, according to the Times. On Saturday, the Reuters news agency, citing three unnamed sources, reported that Israel had informed several countries in the region of its intention to establish a buffer zone. Proposals for a buffer zone are controversial as it would mean cramming Gaza's 2.3 million residents, who live in one of the most densely populated areas in the world, into an even smaller area. Israeli military announces names of 2 soldiers killed in Gaza. Israel's military has announced the names of 2 soldiers killed in fighting in Gaza. They were named as Staff SGT Ashalwu Sama and SGT First Class or Brandis. Sama was wounded on November 14 and died on Saturday, and Brandis was killed in fighting on Saturday, according to Israeli officials. Military spending questioned at COP28 amid Gaza war. The UN Climate Summit in Dubai this week comes amid record government military spending on wars including Gaza and Ukraine, the Dutch-based advocacy organization the Transnational Institute has said. States that should be working together to invest in urgent climate action are instead reaching new military spending records, the Transnational Institute said. The advocacy organization added that this year saw the hottest month in 100,000 years, and that 5% of military spending would be more than enough to meet the repeatedly missed global climate finance target of $100 billion. No electricity in Gaza for 52 days, UN update. The UN has shared data from the Gaza Electricity Distribution Company, GEDCO, confirming the besieged territory has had no electricity since October 11. The data shows that Israeli electricity supply to Gaza ceased on October 8 and that the Gaza power plant stopped supplying power on October 11. Even before its electricity was cut off, Gaza only averaged 13.3 hours of electricity per day from January to September 2023, the data shows. For the past decade, the Gaza Strip has suffered from a chronic electricity deficit, which undermined already fragile living conditions, the UN update said. Mother of Palestinian student shot in U.S. describes life in West Bank. Elizabeth Price, the mother of one of 3 Palestinian students shot in the U.S. state of Vermont last month, has described the struggles her children faced growing up under Israeli occupation in the West Bank. In an interview with MSNBC host Ayman Mohyeldin aired on Saturday, Price said that her family would face lengthy stops at checkpoints and intimidation from settlers during visits to their in-laws. We would get stopped at checkpoints for long periods with guns. Or actually worse, my husband took them to visit my in-laws a few years ago, and a whole bunch of very young settler women blocked the streets and were yelling at the children nearby with the soldiers watching, Price said. Price said that her son, Hisham Awartani, believes he would have been left to die or arrested if he had been shot in the West Bank. Too often, when people are shot, they stop the ambulances from accessing them, she said. Turkish doctors hold silent march in solidarity with Gaza. Turkish doctors and medical students held a silent march in solidarity with Palestinian doctors in the Gaza Strip. The doctors and medical students wore white coats with red hand prints and held signs that said, "Doctors stand with Palestine," as they marched through Istanbul, Turkey on Saturday. On November 20, the WHO said it had recorded 335 attacks on healthcare in the occupied Palestinian territories since October 7, including 164 attacks in the Gaza Strip and 171 in the West Bank. ICC prosecutor visits region, Palestinian activists boycott meeting. Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, ICC, visited Israel and the occupied West Bank on Saturday. Palestinian rights groups boycotted Khan's visit and asked why he did not also visit refugee camps in Gaza under Israeli bombardment. Humanitarian aid within Gaza largely halted, UN. Only limited humanitarian services are being delivered within shelters in Gaza, with humanitarian operations largely halted since Israel recommenced its attacks on Friday, the UN has said. The latest update from the UN's humanitarian arm in the occupied Palestinian territories said that there were only limited distributions of flour in areas south of Wadi Gaza in recent days. The update also said the temporary pause in fighting left almost no improvement in access to drinking water in the northern parts of Gaza, where shortages are leading to the spread of diseases. Hospitals in Gaza overwhelmed by number of injured children. The hospitals that remain open in Gaza are overwhelmed by the number of children injured in Israel's ongoing attacks. Smoke fills air across southern Gaza. Israeli air attacks are hitting residential buildings and refugee camps across the Gaza Strip, including in southern Gaza where Israel previously told Palestinians to flee. These photographs, taken from across the border, show some of the destruction in southern Gaza since Israel resumed its attacks after the temporary truce ended. Palestinian rights groups calls on UN genocide experts to act. Palestinian human rights organizations have issued a letter calling on UN human rights experts specializing in the prevention of genocide to take immediate action as genocide is unfolding in the Gaza Strip. The letter was addressed to two UN experts, the UN Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide Alice Wiramunderatu and the UN Special Advisor on the Responsibility to Protect Giorgio Kothabo. It urged them to take all measures at their disposal, including mobilizing governments to uphold their legal obligations and urgently intervene. The letter was signed by 14 Palestinian organizations including the Civic Coalition for Palestinian Rights in Jerusalem, CCPRJ, and the Palestinian Human Rights Organizations Council, PHROC. Considered a response to mass atrocities in the 1990s, more than 170 heads of state and government committed to the responsibility to protect doctrine in 2005. UK to conduct surveillance flights over Israel, Gaza to support hostage rescue activity. The UK has announced that it will conduct surveillance flights in airspace over Israel and Gaza to support efforts to secure the release of Hamas's captives. Surveillance aircraft will be unarmed, do not have a combat role, and will be tasked solely to locate hostages, the Ministry of Defense, Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and the Home Office said in a joint statement on Saturday. Only information relating to hostage rescue will be passed to the relevant authorities responsible for hostage rescue. Israeli attack kills 13 in Nuseirat refugee camp, Wafa. At least 13 people, including children and women, have been killed and many more injured in Israeli attacks that hit multiple homes in the Nuseirat refugee camp, in the central Gaza Strip, the Palestinian Wafa news agency is reporting. The victims were rushed to Al-Wada Hospital in the central province of Gaza, while many others remain trapped under the rubble, Wafa said. According to local sources, Israeli warplanes bombed the residences of the Asser and Zakaut families in the refugee camp, leaving a minimum of 13 civilian casualties. The toll is expected to rise as rescue efforts continue to extract survivors from the debris. Tributes to university president, physicist killed in Israeli attack. Academics are expressing anger and sadness at the news prominent Palestinian physicist Soufiane Tay was killed, along with members of his family, in an Israeli attack on the Jabalia refugee camp. Tay, the president of the Islamic University of Gaza, held a UNESCO chair and was ranked among the top 2% of scientists worldwide by Stanford University in 2021. Alison Phipps, who holds a UNESCO chair at the University of Glasgow, said, I am angered and saddened to hear of the killing in Gaza of Dr. Tay, UNESCO Chair for Physical, Astrophysical, and Space Sciences in Palestine at the now-destroyed Islamic University of Gaza, where he was president. Anton Muscatelli, the principal and vice-chancellor of the University of Glasgow, which shared a partnership with Tay's university, said he was deeply saddened to hear Tay had died. While Nabil Iqbal, a physicist and professor at Durham University, said, "I find it unbearable that he, and so many others, will no longer be able to build anything." Israeli military investigating possible Iron Dome misfire. Israel's military is probing a possible Iron Dome misfire after the emergence of footage showing an interceptor missile landing in central Israel, the Times of Israel has reported. The possibility that an interceptor missile fell in the country due to a technical malfunction is being examined. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.